War Eagle Auburn family, welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live, where we get together, we sit down, and we talk about what's going on in the world of the Auburn family spectrum. Tend to be heavy on the Auburn sports here, but if it's orange and blue, it is what we do. Thank you guys so much for joining us, whether you're watching live on the replay, however you got here. We appreciate you hanging out with us just to see what we have to say about something Auburn related. On this live stream, it's the end of another Auburn basketball game, and thankfully the Tigers pull it out at home against the San Jose State. Wow, that was a callback to earlier in the football season. St. Louis Billikens by the score of 65-60. Your Tigers remain undefeated, 6-0. We're going to react to it. We're going to talk about it for just a few minutes here and just kind of put this one to bed, trying to discuss what we saw and what we think can take away from this overall game. So as we get started tonight, as always, we want to remind you to smash the like button if you haven't done so already. It does help the stream out. Be sure to leave a comment in the live chat as you're doing so with things that you want us to discuss here, topics that you want us to hit basketball related. And be sure always to use this as your check-in period time. Post where you're watching from, city, state, international, with a War Eagle, and all together in unison right now. Let's do this one thing. Smash the like button, hit that share button on Facebook, the retweet button on Twitter, however you got here. Do all of those things for us because it does help us out and help us reach a bigger and wider Auburn family. So as you're doing that, we'll say hello to a few of you guys and start taking some comments and questions. I've got some storylines and stats that I want to run through in this game. The big thing that you're going to hear from me today, harp on, which is for most of you not a shock if you've been following us for a while, is the fact that free throws will win and lose you basketball games. It's that simple, folks. They will absolutely win and lose basketball games for you. If you are not a good free throw shooting team, you will suffer by that. Thankfully, the case was for the Billikens tonight, that they suffered from very poor free throw shooting and really just kind of kept them from being able to mount a comeback that they had going and even took the lead in the second half, which was a little bit scary at times. When they got out to a 5-point lead there, I was a little bit worried, I'll be honest with you. I thought for a second there that we weren't going to be able to get back into it, to get ourselves back into a better situation. But thankfully, that didn't remain to be the case. Did I say 6-0? Is it 7-0? Is it 6-0 now? I can't remember. I've been on the holiday. If I said 6-0 and it's 7-0, I apologize. But it's, I've been on vacation, so my days and times and all that kind of stuff are all out of whack right now. So let's see who we got here hanging out with us. We got Drip Edits, Thomas Manville, Neil checking in, Savage Beast, Brian, Wendell Green, kid is on fire. Yes, he is. Taylor's here. Matt Morgan. Who else? Blake from Facebook. Lawrence, good to see you guys. Thank y'all so much for checking in there. Kyle, still in the in-laws basement. Believe it or not, I am at the in-laws, but I'm not in the basement. I'm actually in a high up place where you'd think we'd have better, even cell phone. Like, we have great cell phone footage, or not footage, but service everywhere. But for some reason, the last 2 days, it just has stopped. So I apologize. There will be some moments where it stops. I watched the stream on replay last night, so if you can bear with that. I've tested it a couple of different ways, and it's just the best we're going to have to do. The great thing is, as soon as we're done with this, we are heading home, and I will be there for a live stream tonight. So we'll be back in our headquarters. So just stand by for that. We'll talk about that at the end of the show if you're not familiar with our normal schedule. Jordan, good to see you. Thanks for being here. Thomas says, daggum free throws and threes were hard to come by today. Absolutely they were. So let's start right there, because I think those are the two biggest storylines from this game: the free throw percentage and the 3-point percentage for Auburn and for St. Louis. Free throw percentage for the Billikens today. Let me just let this sink in. 29%. That is correct. You heard me. 29%, a 2 and a 9 free throw percentage for the Billikens today. Absolutely awful. No excuse for it. A collegiate basketball team should have no business or below 500. I was going to say 50%. But hitting that few of free throws will absolutely kill you in any basketball game. But especially when you're playing on the road, especially when you're playing on the road in the SEC, especially when you're playing on the road in the Neville Arena. Like, The jungle is one of the best environments in college basketball. That's not just me saying that with my orange and blue. That is legitimate, well-known commentators who continue to push that storyline. And it is true that they are one of the best, if not the best, in the SEC at least. Student section, home environment, missing free throws when you have a run going will kill you. And so that's definitely what took place tonight. Let's see. It doesn't make me feel good when we win a game against a team that shoots less than 50% from the free throws by only a couple of points. I feel you on that. Like, there are some things that you walk away from this and go like, how did we, struggle with a team like that? But at the same token, I don't want people to think that this St. Louis team is not a good team. It is a very good team in the sense of its tradition, its history, its reputation. Now, things change from year to year. This is why I continue to talk about the West Virginia game that comes up later in the SEC Big 12 Challenge. Even though they didn't have a great year last year, that being West Virginia, don't think that when you go up against a Bob Huggins team, especially in West Virginia, that you're not going to get the fight of your life. So same thing here with St. Louis. Team that obviously had some struggles tonight, but they beat a team like Memphis in a similar scenario. I think it was 90-84. They've already beaten Memphis this year. They're going to play a pretty tough non-conference schedule overall. So when you beat them at home, that's great. They would have loved to have had this quad one win, a almost top 10 team. Beating them on the road would have been absolutely the resume builder that they need. For us, I think I haven't looked and see where it falls into a quad one win in terms of, or quad level win, but I would imagine it's probably in the quad 2 realm. If someone wants to give me correction on that, please do so. But I think that's where we will see. The great thing is we're going to have a comparison in a few weeks here when we play Memphis in Atlanta on a neutral site, how we match up with them, and then comparing that how this St. Louis team did against them, getting the win. I don't remember if that was home or on the road. That's going to be a really good comparison to have coming up. Let's see who else. I think I've said hello to everybody else on here. Let's see. Yuri Collins is one of the best guards in the country. Yeah. So let me pull that up a little bit and talk about that. He got into some foul trouble early, and Auburn, excuse me. It wasn't bad foul trouble, but it was foul trouble enough to keep him out of off the court for a little bit in the first half. And that was a moment where you really wanted to see Auburn take advantage of that and get up on them and actually push the score out a little bit further than it actually was. And they weren't able to do that. And so what you did is when he does come back in and get utilized and they start getting, everybody else in there getting on a roll as they did in the second half, you've left the door open for a team like St. Louis, who is very talented, who has a great pedigree, to be able to take advantage of something and almost get a win on the road. So Yuri Collins tonight, 10 points. He's a very good guard. Also did Perkins was their leading scorer tonight, and Jimerson as well, which I think was their big 3-point shooter, 4 for 9 from the field, almost 50% or below 50%. So also, not that this is a St. Louis show, but anybody else catch that funny little name on their team? Okoro. And wasn't Isaac Okoro number 5 too? The similarities abound. It's interesting to see that happen. We need to stop with the dumb shots when we're down by 5. What do you mean by that? Give me some more detail. I'd love to know what you mean. Stop with the dumb shots. Unbeaten. Give me a little bit more detail about that. Janai needs to have more consistent offensive production. Let's see what he did tonight since you're talking about that. So he's the second leading scorer tonight with 11 points, 4 for 14 from the field, 3 for 4 from free throws, 0 for 1 from 3-point land. When you say consistent, I guess this is another question for somebody to answer too. What do you mean by that? I ask that a lot on this channel because I love to hear y'all's opinions about that. What do you mean he needs more consistent play? Like, is there a point range you're wanting to see him hit? Is there a certain other statistics that you're wanting to see him hit? To me, hitting in double digits, very close to a double-double as well with 8 rebounds, that's a pretty good set from him. Now, he missed a few baskets down low that I would expect him normally to make. That's basketball sometimes. I think he could be more consistent, but yeah. One of the biggest issues with Bruce Pearl's coaching is how long it takes for us to call a timeout. We will be on a 0-7 run, but he won't talk it out. But he won't talk it out with the team when it matters the most. That feels a little harsh and a little out of context, but I maybe there's a greater point in there that I'm missing. What I do know about Bruce Pearl is this, from watching him for several years. He likes to let his guys kind of work it out on the court and figure it out together. There can be bad things that come from that. But what I love about that is the freedom that it gives a team to feel like they can make some mistakes and it's not the end of the world, and that they're given almost a little bit of ownership of that. To me, that's a lot of courage in coaching. It could, as you said, maybe have an opportunity to be perceived as not calling a timeout when you need to do that. Coach Pearl's been here for many years. He's done his coaching a certain way, and it's been pretty successful. I'm not going to question it too much. Not to dismiss your point, but I think I get what you're trying to say. Good teams also know how to win when they're in scary situations. Fair point. I'm worried about our ability to switch on defense at times. They got some really good mismatches and took advantage of it at times. Didn't you notice that? That was the big thing for me today. Like, not to dismiss the other teams that we played. Northwestern took us down to the wire. I think that was probably the best team we had played up to that point. St. Louis, does anybody disagree with this? Is the best team that we played this season thus far. And it's going to get tougher the rest of the time. You got Memphis coming up. You've got USC coming up. You've got Washington. And I know a lot of people, I know Devin, who's here a lot, dismisses Washington because she's had some experience with that program. I'm not taking them for granted. There's some tough games, especially on the road, coming up for the Tigers. I think that what you see when you start getting into tougher teams, more talented teams, you're going to see the ability to take advantage of things like mismatches. So this was a good, whether it was planned or not in the scheduling, a good moment to kind of have that maybe expose Blake so that we can begin to address it. So that's kind of what this is, a long game, right? It's why we don't, scream and lament over a lost game like we do in football, because we usually know that we have time to fix it. Thomas says he was confused on the defensive game plan, strictly based on rebounds today. I'm not a basketball expert by any means. I know St. Louis played fast, but why not have more guys under the basket? Thoughts? So you're saying strictly based on rebounds today. So let's go take a look at that. Total rebounds today, 42 for the Billikens, 41 for Auburn. So technically they lose. They lose the statistical matchup there rebound-wise. But it's super close. This isn't where there's like a 5, 6, 7 point difference in terms of rebounds. So it's not like someone officially won day. I don't have their, I could go through and one by one look at all of the heights and weights and stuff in terms of their bodies. Their guys did seem to be a little bit on the bigger side, just from my vantage point where I was watching on the TV. There could be some of that. Rebounding most of the time is about desire. And I'll give you an example. Deshaun Murray, a recent Auburn Tiger within the last decade, I think it's been like 5 years now since he's been here. I think he was listed at 6'7". So for his position, which he was playing like a small forward, that's pretty average. And you don't expect those guys to be some of your hardcore statistical or energy rebounders. And he was time and time again, because he was just that focused on it, that driven to be such a great rebounder. And because of that, he goes down in history as like one of the better ones that we have, especially in that era. So rebounding wise, more is kind of, yes, it is. Everything's a team scheme, a team focus, a team coaching opportunity, but there was kind of an individual level there. We've got guys that are big athletes that want to move fast, fly fast around. So sometimes you can get stuck out on the edge, wanting to wait to do something, and then you won't come in and help a little bit. So I don't know if that answered your comment or question, but that's kind of what I initially took away from it. I trust Wendell to make those half-court shots, but not at those times. I got you. Good to see you, Devin. How we doing on those memes? Are you able to check for us? That's your job every single stream. Boys looked as if they had jet lag. Rob, good point to bring up. So a lot of things that we talk about in basketball is the fatigue factor. So when we get into SEC play, there's going to be a very, not rigid, but a very not fluid, it's not the right word, structured set to it. You're either going to have a game on a Tuesday or Wednesday, and you're going to have a game on a Saturday. Sometimes with these early season tournaments, non-conference play in general, you're going to have games one day separated, no day separated. And when you throw in travel aspects of it, like they did coming back from Cancun, not the furthest traveling situation, but still you can understand where they might have some of that creep up. Maybe it was. But we've seen these guys struggle a little bit offensively this year. So I would lean less on that and just kind of some of our other offensive issues reared their ugly heads. It's also November, not March. Phil, I like that he lets his guys on the floor figure it out in a tournament game, take the timeout to stop the other team's run. I would tend to agree with Brian's assessment of this. This is the time to let your boys figure it out. You can warrant a mistake or two, even not concede a game, but you can, like I said earlier, it's not the end of the world if you drop a game, even to St. Louis, because St. Louis is going to be a team that everybody respects most of the year. So, yeah. Are we considered a 2-minute team yet? Not understanding that one. I would say that Northwestern was the toughest game we've played, but not the hardest team to beat. I don't disagree with that. I think that's probably a fair way to state that. All right, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit in the comments. So if I missed one of those and you really want me to talk about it, bring it back up. We got a good crowd assembling. If you haven't, smash that like button. Thank you guys for dealing with I can have my little other monitor I watch on to make sure that everything's going good with the stream. And I see that it freezes up. That wasn't a freeze up. That was just me doing that from time to time. So thank y'all for dealing with that. Our felling is high. Ceiling is high. We'll be fine. Yeah, I don't think anybody is legitimately panicking about this right now. It's good to go ahead and see some of these issues now and work on them. Yeah, and Alabama's playing North Carolina right now. Okay, let's see. I'll come back. Have they been good this year? USC has usually been pretty good. He's consistently good. I think UW has gone down a little bit, according to Devin, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Tweet count so far, 235 in 16 minutes. Not too bad. Not too bad. It's kind of consistent with what we've seen. All right, let me do this. Let me go back to my storylines that I kind of wrote down throughout the game. We've already talked about this being, probably the biggest opponent of the year. Maybe not the hardest win that we've had, but the biggest opponent, the best opponent. I think that's how we agreed. Savage Beast. That's how we were going to say it. At least perception-wise. So that will be a good mark on Auburn's resume come tournament time. Not the best. Probably that USC win, if you get that on the road, that will be your best mark in maybe West Virginia on the road will be a good thing. And then obviously SEC play as well. But it'll definitely be something that you point to and say, look, we handled St. Louis in a tough battle at home. Did anybody else find it interesting how many bank shots St. Louis had today? I think it may have only been 2, but I felt like it was more. There was like a 3-pointer, and then there's a pretty far 2-pointer. Let me just be honest with you guys. It's very rare that guys use the backboard on shots, not layups. I do it sometimes because I enjoy it and because it just feels right in the moment, but that's some overshooting right there. So that was interesting to see a lot from them. We talked about Okoro, and we talked interesting name dynamic there with Auburn having Okoro and then some of their players of note. So that was some of the things that I wrote down that I wanted to make sure we mentioned, and we've already kind of hit those. So we'll go through some statistics now once I kind of check on y'all's commentary here and see what people are saying. At some point, we're going to poop our pants on national television, but I feel good for now. It's basketball. It's very hard to go undefeated. It's very difficult to not take multiple L's in a season. So at some point, you're going to have an embarrassing loss. It's just really the nature of the game. Somebody's going to get hot on the right night, on the same night that you got really down. Thankfully, it hasn't happened yet. But yes, you should anticipate that to come at some point and be happy if it doesn't, but don't expect it not to. Is Donaldson hurt? All right, well, let's talk about that, because I even found myself, Rob, looking at who's been utilized and how much. Yeah, so let's look at that a little bit. So you got Trey Donaldson. Did he even show up in the stat line? Where is he? I do not see him. Okay, he did not play today. I don't know. I don't have any word on that. I don't have any information to know if he's not practicing a certain amount or whatever. Here's what I do know. You've got 10 to 11 guys that are all good enough to have significant playing time. Most teams use maybe like 8 or 9. Usually like 9 is the sweet spot. 8 significantly. So 11 guys all deserve time. You're trying to find time. Someone has to take that hit. Is it so? In Trey's case, who's a point guard, is it going to be Chance? Is it going to be Wendell? Zep to some degree? All these guys are doing some great things with the time that they're given right now. So it, like, I really like Trey Donaldson, and I hate that I see him not getting these amount of minutes, but who deserves to play is going to get the minutes most of the time. I don't know anything else around that. All I know is that I hate, kind of like you, that he's not getting to play as much, but I'm going to trust Coach that he's putting the best people out there to play. JB says St. Louis win is a solid win. Maybe so. How many Donaldsons have played for AU? I know I saw y'all talking about Josh Donaldson. There's only 2. I can go Trey Donaldson, Josh Donaldson. Anybody got enough? We got Rob Donaldson. All right, let's look at some more stats real quick. Again, 65-60 is your final score of the day. Your starters were the exact same: Zep Jasper, Wendell Green, Chris Moore, Jalen Williams, and Janai Broom. I really like that, because we saw early Bruce saying you may see the starting lineup switch around a lot, and it is yet to happen outside of an injury where Janai had to not play for a game because of an ankle injury. And then Dylan got a chance to start. I kind of like the way those guys are utilized within there. I would argue that you have almost a 6th and the 7th man in terms of playing time. Let me see if that kind of washes when I look at it. Katie Johnson with 24 minutes of time, rightfully so. And then Alan Flanagan with 27 minutes of time. So they played more than some of the starters, namely Chris Moore and Zep Jasper. So while these guys continue to start, you don't just start guys because they're scoring the most points for you or because they do a certain thing really better than someone else. You go with who gives you the best start. And it seems like that's how we can operate really well with those 5 guys, even if it means Chris Moore and Zep Jasper are getting a little bit less time as the game, because that means that Bruce trusts them, that Bruce sees what brings to the table to start off the game. So for now, I would say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Donaldson's and Carlson's, yep. I've been hearing a lot of talk about our roster, and it's mainly about how we don't have much star power. I don't think you necessarily need star power, since anybody can go deep in March. Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. People sometimes get too focused on who's your next Jabari or things like that. It's easy to do. I fall susceptible to that sometimes, but star power is not a requirement to win. It sure does help. But sometimes what can happen is you become so over-reliant on that star that when they aren't stars for a day, they fall apart. See the final game of the 2022 March Madness for Auburn. You become so used to it that you rely on it too much. Yeah, what was his name? 24, Jimerson. Very good three-point shooter, at least for this game. Good stat to bring up. 43 state home non-conference wins. The last and only team to beat us at home was Coastal Carolina in 2014. And guess who Coastal Carolina's head coach was? That would be Cliff Ellis. It all goes around, doesn't it? So, yeah. Okay, let's see here. Make sure I didn't hit some more of these things. I want to jump back over here for a second and talk about the three things that you're going to hear me harp on every single game. What was the rebound battle like? What was the free throw battle like? And what was the turnover battle like? So we talked about free throws. Not a great day from the line for Auburn at 64%. Not terrible, but not great. Awful day for Billikens. That you can point to in and of itself and say, I mean, look at this. If they shot 21 free throw shots, if they make 5 of them, it's a tie game, and that puts them not even at 50%. And that's a bad day at the free throw shooting line. Free throws lose championships and win championships, but they will definitely lose championships for you. I already mentioned the rebound battle. They got over us by 1. So you kind of concede that to them. The turnover battle, completely the same. 12 turnovers, and it felt like more, frankly, to me, for both teams. 12 turnovers for both teams. So really, you can basically say it's a push, rebounds and turnovers wise, free throws wise, is the difference in this game. And there's no other discussion really to be had. And Wendell Green had a great game. What other things stuck out to you guys? We are going to wrap up here in just a little bit because I do need to get on the road. We do have things that we want to get accomplished tonight on this channel. So we'll have to do that. But let me see what you guys are saying. Very important to have good and consistent guard play. However, do you think we have that? I think you've shown that Wendell is pretty consistent, right? Would anybody disagree with that? So far this year seems very consistently there. KD, the last few games, has shown to be very reliable and consistent. Maybe not I think when you say consistent, that means someone's scoring 15 points a game, 20 points a game. Not necessarily. It just means that they're consistently up where you expect them to be in a certain kind of points or statistical category. I would say KD's kind of risen up there. Do I think we have that? Yes. Do I think it will always be there? History dictates that it kind of goes like this. But so I like what I see out of Wendell. Consistency from Zep. Zep does not great in the points category, but he's out there. He's contributing other factors. Alan Flanagan seems to be, quote unquote, back. I know we have that, but will it always be there? That's a good question. Who led the team in rebounds? Janai. Oh, no. Alan Flanagan. Oh, my goodness. Feel like Flanagan grabbed a bit tonight. Alan Flanagan with 10 rebounds, 7 points tonight. So he almost has a double-double as well. Janai had 8. Alan Flanagan. He's back, baby. I think the most appealing player on the team is Flanagan. He's been great, and I think he's fully recovered from that energy and is back. 100% agree. It's like the new thing. Stidham's from Texas. Bo Nix got married, or his dad played there. Alan Flanagan is back. All right, keep your comments and questions coming. We'll hit a few more things before we get out of here. Because like I said, I do need to get on the road. But let me give you some schedule updates for to expect next from us. Tonight, the plan is, again, to record at 9 Eastern Time, the Auburn Experience podcast, which is our flagship show of this channel, of the podcast network. Don't miss it. We will talk about sports and probably heavy of that again this time, but we talk about anything Auburn there with myself and Austin Scott. Just keep updated here on the YouTube channel. It's exclusively on YouTube for those of you on Twitter and Facebook. This is why we encourage you to come over to YouTube. We like having you there, but YouTube's got all the stuff basically. So come on over there to watch that live recording at 9 Eastern Time tonight. What was the next thing? I'm blanking. You need to be subscribed, not only because you want to be in our subscriber giveaway that we have going on right now to get a signed Auburn football prize package. You need to be subscribed. Come back as soon as this live stream ends and drop a comment in the comment section because the live chat doesn't count. And that is an entry into our giveaway on our journey to 5,000 subscribers. You also want to be subscribed so you don't miss unplanned live streams. We're all sitting on pins and needles about this coaching search. As soon as we know some definitive stuff, we will go live, and I can't predict when that will be. And then check out the links in the description for other ways you can help support our content. There you go, like that. But the next thing tonight, 9 Eastern, is the scheduled live recording of the Auburn Experience podcast. Don't miss it. We always have a good time before and after the recording, just hanging out and talking with you guys. Love doing that show because I enjoy the topic, the company, but talking to you. It's like a mini Wednesday night live stream for us, just kind of hanging out, just having fun together, being in the Auburn family. All right. So with that being said, let's take some final questions, comments. We're going to get out of here. Agree E2C for life. What happened to Berman? He went to Sharpshooter to not getting any playing time. It's the same answer that I'm going to give you for Trey Donaldson. Where are you going to play him, like time-wise? It's just the unfortunate nature of being on a team with this much talent and trying to find time for everybody. I did expect Leor to have some more time by now. It's the nature of the beast. Coach Kyle says free throw wins games. Yes, that's true. Yep. Let's see here. I want Bruce Pearl to use the flex cut play that we used last year in March Madness. Every time we did it, we had a bucket. It's a very well-known and common offensive strategy. Everybody's usually really well-versed on how to defend, but it is deadly if you can execute it. I know that from personal experience, high school and otherwise. The dunk by Flanagan, it got real loud. I always love it when people were at the game, come in here and share their impressions because it helps us kind of vicariously live through you. Very funny, very funny. All right, guys, look, I know it's a little bit on the shorter live stream, but I appreciate you guys hanging out with me tonight. Smash that like button if you haven't. We had a great crowd here. Love seeing you guys after every basketball game. And if you're not a regular with us, please do come back. After every basketball game, we have a plan to do a live stream, give or take a few that I'll miss probably later in the year. But we'd love to see y'all in the live stream chat, if not watching on the replay. Check all those things out that we talked about and subscribe so you don't miss any content here on E2C Network. And until I talk again, War Eagle.